Welcome, everyone. I'm Coach Nesci from Shooting School Basketball, and you are listening to Meet Your College Hoops Coach. We chat with college coaches to give you some inside information on colleges and their basketball programs. Today, we have with us Coach James Mooney, the head coach at Mt St Vincent in Riverdale, New York. Coach has just completed his third season as head coach. Prior to that, Coach was a standout player at Mt St Vincent. Coach, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to be on the show.
Great. So, Coach, if we could just jump right into it, could you give us a description of Mt St Vincent College?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a liberal arts college based in Riverdale, New York, which is the northernmost part of the Bronx. We're right on the Hudson River. In fact, our soccer field is directly overlooks the Hudson River. We are well known for our nursing program, but we also have a very strong education and business department as well. We have roughly about 1,500 students, undergrads, and about a third of that are residents. So we have 5 dorms on campus, directly on campus, and we have a 6th one being built as we speak. Which was supposed to be completed this spring, but now with everything, I don't know what the time frame is for that. But another cool fact about our school is that, you know, we've been a host to a variety of different TV shows and movies, especially Law and Order. Film trucks are on our campus on a regular basis, and the movie Doubt with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman was also filmed there. So a lot of cool things at the College of Mt St Vincent. We're a small school tucked in. But we're rapidly growing.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Coach, when you were a student, which wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
how many did you have? As many dormitories as there are now? Has it always been?
No, we were, I believe, 4. And then my senior year, or towards the end of my senior year, they started to build a 5th one, which was Mastronardi. It basically connected an existing dormitory alumni hall and made it like a U shape. And then now the new one that's being built is completely isolated. It's built on a hill. It's actually very interesting of how this spot was even chosen, because it literally was a slant this way. And God bless engineering and architecture. It's up. It's pretty much up. The structure's up. Now it's just, you know, all the inside work and finishing the outside stuff, but the structure is there.
Okay, that's great. Coach, you know, in getting more information on your school out, which I think is vital to all parts of the tri-state area. But for your recruiting, Coach, for the school, I guess, is your recruiting reflective, generally speaking, of the student body, the population, as regards to where students come from? Is your team like a microcosm of that, or not?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I don't necessarily specifically recruit towards what the demographic of our school is. I think that's almost impossible, you know, because year in, year out, you know, as you know from recruiting, you'll get whatever you can get from wherever, you know. So for us, you know, yeah, obviously the tri-state area is a hotbed for us, especially like Long Island. It's a home away from home. You know, our school has a lot of kids from that area, Rockland County. So if there's a kid from those areas that's good enough that I like, I'll certainly recruit them. But it's really hard to try to recruit solely on the landscape of what our campus is, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, and so generally then speaking, Coach, where the school as a whole, like where do most students that attend Mt St Vincent, like where do they come from?
New York City, all the boroughs.
Okay.
You know, we're an inner city school, so a ton of kids from the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Washington Heights. You know, then you have some Westchester, but not much. A lot of Long Island, New Jersey too, as well. Not so much Connecticut, I don't think. You know, we don't really tap into that, but we're very kind of centralized with who we have.
And what's the breakdown regarding on-campus and commuters?
I would say, of the 1,500 we have, 500 or so are residents.
Okay. Right. That's a good solid number.
Yeah.
And so, with all that goes into the time and effort, certainly, the recruiting piece, which is nonstop, ongoing, there's a recruiting calendar, but there's no open space in that calendar, as we know. What are some of the biggest challenges specific to what you face at Mount St. Vincent, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, number one is money. That is the number one, hurdle we have to get over. We offer a lot of great academic scholarships that range anywhere from like 16,000 to 26, 27. But our all-in tuition price is 51,000. So
wow.
Sometimes, when recruits and families see that number, it can deter them. And then it's my job to tell them like, hey, well, here's the other opportunities that we offer from an institution-wise, and then hopefully financial aid, helps with the rest. But, there's no way for me to know what a family's going to get, every time they apply. I have no insight to the financial aid piece, as so it can be really, really challenging to find a great kid that wants to come to school and that can afford it. And then outside of that, sometimes for out-of-state kids, they hear Bronx and they're like, no, like, but we're like, no, we're Riverdale. We're Bronx, but we're Riverdale. Just come and see it.
Right.
And then, for the most part, I would say anyone that even comes, even kids that live in the city, when they come to our campus, they're completely blown away and shocked that this is a New York City campus. And then thirdly, what I'm learning now is, we're competing with post-grad schools and JUCOs that are, one, not even a fraction of the cost. Like, they are very, very affordable. And then secondly, the promise is, or at least the hope is, that go play at some of these schools and you'll get a bigger offer, at the conclusion of playing there. So it's very difficult. Like, I've lost several recruits this year, just within the few weeks, that are telling me that they're going to go to a post-grad or a JUCO. Mm-hmm. So, those are our three challenges when it comes to recruiting. It's really the money piece and
getting them on the campus. I know, when, the school is not well known in the general population is huge, obviously, right? If you can get them to make that visit. And Coach, how many of your players actually live on campus?
Oh, I think all of them.
Right. So see, so the benefit could be that obviously if you can get these prospects to make overnight visits, they could actually stay on the campus and really get the full feel of what it would be like to be an on-campus student. So no, that's a major challenge. And the cost of higher education, if I gave you the numbers, I always like to ask when in conversation, I started out as an assistant at New York University in the spring of 1984. And that was my first exposure to the recruiting piece, something I embraced and loved. I loved, the interaction. I loved the evaluation. I loved to be at games, etc., and learned a lot about, presenting, how to present yourself and your school, and, and then knowing the facts. So I always ask when I get into conversation, I ask people to guess, like, what a full package at New York University was in like 1984, tuition, room and board. And I will tell you I don't know the exact now, but I know it's plus 75 now.
Yes, I know that.
Okay. So, Coach, I'll even ask you to venture a guess.
NYU, based on the reputation and what the cost is now. 1940, I was born, so that's 36 years ago. I'm gonna venture to say 28. 28,000.
Nope.
Don't tell me it's more. Down?
Down. Down.
Really?
Yeah.
20?
Down.
15?
Yep, like 15, 16.
Really? But in comparison, what was sort of the other schools' tuitions?
Oh, it was considerably less. Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yes, we were
Wow.
we were still higher.
Yep.
You know, we were still higher than most, and then obviously it just where it's gone, it's amazing. So I understand, because the challenges that you face, and you may be competing, and again, and I guess that's also a question. Do you find, Coach, that you compete besides the post grad possibilities, right?
Yep.
Are there schools that you generally compete against, or you run up against a wide number of schools generally?
Yeah, a wide range. I mean, I'll tell you, like, it's almost, with the 3 years now, 4 years that I'm doing recruiting, I haven't really run into too many kids where they're choosing between us and another team in my conference.
Interesting.
It's not much. I mean, a lot of the schools that I'm competing with are kind of upper Northeast or Pennsylvania schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we lost a kid to Moravian. So, which I think is great, because it's now you're not all chopping at the bit for these all these kids within your conference. Because ultimately, our conference, we have, I think, 4 SUNY schools. I can't compete with their price tag.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
So if I am competing with these kids, it's a very difficult sell to say, hey, don't, ignore that cost. Come here.
Right.
Because I got to be able to justify why you would want to pay more to come play for me than at some of these other schools. So luckily, we haven't run into those issues. But that's the game. I mean, you can recruit online now through NCSA and all the showcases spread out. Every college now is basically doing their own showcase too. So there's so many kids you could see that, I'm not surprised that I'm not competing that much against schools in my area or in my conference.
Gotcha. And talking more about what you look for, Coach,
Yep.
what would you consider quality players for your program, as regards to what you look for in point guards or shooting guards, and bigger players?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from a quality standpoint, as a player, you look at their skill set, their generic play, and you could see that. Like, the coach's eye, you could see, all right, this kid got game. He has the it factor. He has, a good foundation. For me, it's, how do they shoot the ball? Like, I got to see how you release it. For me, as a shooter, I'm big on that, because, and there's only so much time I could spend on you, to actually fix your shot. You got to come in and you got to basically kind of got to have it. So,
Coach, all you shooters are always partial to shooters. You're all the same.
We have to be.
No, I'm joking with you, Coach. I know that's the way the game is going. I had to throw that in there, Coach, because I remember you, and you were a really good shooter.
Thank you. Yeah. I try to remind my players of that every now and then when I get on the court.
Coach,
so.
I was trying to dig out, because I have all my stuff, my materials are all here in my house. They're downstairs. I have so much to go through, which I will. This is probably a time where I could go through a lot of it, but I was going to pull out one of my old scouting reports, because you were in there. You got to be in there.
I would hope so.
One of my Mt St Vincent reports. Yeah.
So,
but you're certainly right, Coach, about the shooting ability.
Yeah, because I think a lot of parents or kids don't understand that Division III, we're only allowed to work with you in season. There is no off season, preseason. Like, that's all on you. We can't have any oversight into that, which is the worst part about, our level of basketball. I wish we had just some sort of window. I wish we just had a few weeks.
I know every year or two it pops up on the agenda with the NCAA, but I know we constantly get shot down.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So again, for me, it's how they shoot, how they dribble, how they attack the rim. For bigs, when I'm looking at, post players, it's their footwork.
Hmm.
What's their feel around their basket? Do they have a left hand? Are they shooting on the left side with their inside hand? To me, that shows, that they don't have the ability or the confidence to shoot with that weak hand. Outside of skill set, kind of off the court quality is really character stuff. And I tell kids, throughout the recruiting process, everything's a test. So when I shoot you a text or a call, here's your test one, is how quick do you respond?
Hmm.
If you don't respond in a timely fashion, then it's like, okay, that could be a red flag for, whenever I need a kid to turn in his physical, or whenever I need a kid to complete the NCAA compliance form, or, complete an assignment. I need something by a certain date. If you can't answer a text, which I know you're on your phone, I know you have it. If you're blowing that off,
Hmm.
that's kind of strike one. Also, two, hey, now we have a good conversation. Are you going to come on campus? How long does it take for you to finally give me a date and time for when you're going to
Hmm.
come? Application process. How long does it take you to apply and get that complete? So all these things is what I look for in a quality player. First and foremost, the obvious is you got to be able to play.
Hmm.
So from watching you play, I'll be able to see that. Whether it's live or on a film or a highlight, I'll be able to see the skill set. And then it goes into the kind of who you are. Are you organized? Are you, professional in a way? Do you have good communication skills? That, and again, from talking to a large number of kids, it's very easy to kind of start to cipher through the kids and figure out who's quality, who's not.
Hmm. And so with your team, coach, I know one of the challenges that I always faced, and it's an ongoing, it's an ongoing responsibility. Doesn't matter how well your athletes do in the classroom. I always felt it was a major responsibility of mine to be in the know on how they were doing, um, in this during the season, and in the end, I think just as importantly in the off season, when they don't have that structure
Yep.
of the practices, but still in season, their hours are really crammed in with a lot of responsibilities. And now, coach, you've done this for a couple of years. How have you navigated, the ability to assist them through their responsibilities in the classroom and then on the basketball floor?
Yeah, I mean, it can be very challenging, especially, like I said, we're a nursing school. So I have a couple players and had a couple players that are in the nursing program.
Hmm.
And that the demands for that is a lot greater than, maybe a communications major. And, so their time is extremely limited. Sleep, becomes kind of a commodity, at times, because they're doing clinicals, then they're doing classwork, then they have practice at all these different hours of the day. So we're very cognizant of everyone's class schedules, and I'll never schedule a practice time where I can't have everyone there. So we'll go as early as 6 a.m. We'll go as late as 9 p.m. If it's a
Wow.
finals week or a midterms week, I'll always cut practice time short, an hour. Maybe it's just a skill development day, and if we can, based on our game schedule, just have maybe a couple of off days, because it's just a different demand for us versus Division II, Division I level. So we're very big on tutoring and helping wherever we can. So for those
Hmm.
whose GPA is below 2.75, that's our program threshold, is
Great.
we make them have 3 tutors out of their 4 or 5 classes that they must meet with every week. We did the study hall my first year because that's kind of what everyone does. And I realized that we're not accomplishing anything by just sitting in a room for an hour doing work for a couple of hours a week. It's just not worth it. Some kids had work, some kids didn't. And it was almost like a punishment to those that do well.
Right.
So we don't look at it as a punishment. It's like, hey, it's like, I could eat all I want and never gain a single pound, but someone else has to really watch what they eat. Like everyone has their own way of doing things that they might need extra help for. So for those that find themselves in situations where, hey, my GPA is not 2.75, I am struggling, we will set up tutoring for them. And now they're getting the help that they need. So and I tell them it's not punishment. Like, some people need to run more than others to get in better shape. Like, it just is what it is. We're all playing the same game. We're all running the same race, but everyone has different start and finish times. So don't panic, So we do everything we can to assist. But as you know, I mean, you can only help those that want to be helped. So we can provide all the tutoring you want and give them time off. It comes down to the individual to either have that ability or they don't, or they have that invested interest or they don't. And again, through the recruiting process, that helps us kind of filter that out.
Yeah. So, Coach, your practice times, you work them around the class schedules of your players. Yeah. And I know how tricky that can be. We, back in the day, like, we always practiced at the same time. We practiced from 4 to 6:30, Monday to Thursday, whatever the off. This is even before there was a mandatory off day when I was an assistant. And then early on Fridays, that was the one day practice early because there were less classes. But as they added more majors, and then there's more variables, suddenly, like yourself, we found, having to practice at all these different times. And by the way, it's not that I always felt that, for practice, I didn't care about myself. I wanted to have the optimum time for the guys because, I wanted to make it easy for them. They're the ones who also have to balance their schoolwork. But, Coach, it's, some people say, well, geez, we could practice at 8 o'clock every night. And then, everyone doesn't have class. It's like, we could just do that. Yeah. But the realities are, you may have on certain days classes that you're going to class from like 12 to 6. And then you're coming to practice. So, like, your day is over, but your brain is now fried. Yeah. And you might have the next day, you might have an 8 a.m. class. And now, okay, so you get through practice, but time you get back to the dorm, you're wired. You're not going to sleep right away. And now you got an 8 a.m. class. So, it's always, like you said, it's a challenge. And I guess, we just have to have our antenna up and do that juggling act. And certainly, I see you're already aware of it. And what about then, Coach, you go through a season and now this year obviously is an atypical off season. What has your typical off season for the players been like?
Yeah, I mean, off season for us, I classify as summer. Preseason would be when they come back in August, and then postseason would be from the end of our season to when summer begins. So off season for us, a lot of my kids are working, doing a variety of different jobs. Some are interning, some are just getting whatever work that they can get and do. So they are busy. I don't know really of any of them that didn't work or didn't have some sort of job during the summer, which is great because they need to build up their resume. They need something, to show that they weren't just this, lazy student athlete, and hey, you should hire me,
Right.
So we give them an off-season workout to follow. And like I said, we're so spread out. Like, I have a kid in Chicago, I have a kid in Virginia. So it's very hard to kind of just keep tabs on all of them, especially, again, I like to call them during the day, but they're at work. So now it's bleeding into the afternoon, evening hours. And now a lot of them go from work to the gym and then home, eat, and then repeat the cycle again. So weekends is when I get to kind of catch up with them. Like I said, the all-season workouts we give them, we hope they follow. It's hard to say if they do or not. I'm sure they do take bits and pieces of it. And that's fine too. Like, I don't say this is mandatory. I just want to give you every resource possible to say, hey, here's the workouts, here's the skill development drills that you could do. And a lot of these guys have their own kind of workout routines anyway. So that's fine. But I know, like, for coaches like myself, recruiting during the off season becomes the number one priority. You're going to all these different showcases and tournaments and whatever. So that takes up a big bulk of my time. And then personally, I'm trying to figure out based on who's coming in, who's returning, what's our offense going to be for next year, what's our defense, now building practice templates around that. And then, spending lost time with family, because
Sure.
during the season, it's our hours are all over the place. I might not get into the door until about 1 a.m. And then I got to quickly turn back and go back to work to do some film because we have practice the next day and we have a game the following day. So the off season is just as busy as the in season, at least for me. And I'm sure the players, it could be the same for them too with work, and some of them do summer classes. So
Okay. Yeah. And Coach, with the recruiting as it is today as we speak, are you waiting still on decisions for next year? Okay.
Yeah, so May 1st is our deadline, and that's been extended to June 1st now. So we've gotten, I think we have 6 paid deposits so far. We're looking around the 10-12 area.
Wow.
We also have the JV team, which I have to recruit for.
Okay.
So we graduated 3 from varsity, so I need at least 3 varsity guys. And we're there. Like, the commitments are there. Some are still waiting on other schools for their financial aid package, and that's totally fine. I don't take that personally, or that's not insulting to me. In fact, I encourage them to weigh all their options, because if you're going to choose us, I want to make sure you did it, putting everything on the table. So hopefully with the next couple of weeks, we'll have some more deposits. But I know like one recruit I was talking to, his mom had coronavirus and she was hospitalized. So some kids, their families have lost their jobs. So it's really, really challenging. So I'm like, I've basically pumped the brakes entirely. I don't even want to talk about, it with them.
Right.
When they want to, they will.
Sure.
So
it's tricky. It's so tricky, Coach. Totally. I certainly wish you luck with it, Coach. I know that
thank you. Yeah.
luck becomes a big factor. It appears
big time
these days. So I wish you luck with that. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, Coach. This has been, I think, very informative. I know that our clients, their parents, those that will look in, are going to get a lot of good information. And certainly, Coach, I think that you have a lot to offer. I certainly was impressed, when you guys came in to play us at the tournament. And, I knew that I think that was your first year, too. So I know you were.
Yeah, first game.
First game, just like jumping in there. And I don't know, Coach, am I correct in that were you named Coach of the Year of the conference? Was that in your first year?
That year, yeah.
Coach, that's not a smart move on your part. You shouldn't do that in your first year, Coach.
Believe me, I know.
Expect that every year.
I believe me. That raised the bar, and then these last 2 seasons weren't there, and I'm like, oh, no.
Just kidding, Coach. Just kidding. That's a great thing. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for the program.
Thank you.
Coach, let's stay in touch. I wish you all the best, and good luck during these very trying times.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you so much again. Really appreciate the opportunity. Glad to see you're doing well and staying busy and being in the basketball world. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Great.